affairs. Facts and opinion. Their future in our hands. Markets. Globalist technocrats versus the people. A line in the sand. The McIntyre Report.
Welcome, folks. Welcome back to Australian National Review McIntyre Report. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to talk about a little bit about USS Liberty, an event that occurred in 1967 that unfortunately many people simply aren't aware of. And many Americans, Australians, Westerners continue to stand with a particular foreign nation and believe that they're an ally of America. But there's a lot of things they simply don't know. There's some darker secrets that this foreign nation doesn't want you to know about, despite it being part of historical evidence. There was an episode I'll share with you very quickly, an episode where this particular gentleman was interviewed that we're going to have on next by Candace Owens. I want to share this with you firstly, and then we'll ask some questions with Phil live on the show.
All right, you guys, I'll get right into this. A couple of weeks ago, I received a letter that changed my life, certainly changed the course of my life in politics. And I'm going to read you that letter now and let you know that the author of it is sitting across from me. It reads, "My name is Phil Tourney. I am 77 years old today. On June 8th, 1967, I was just 20 years old when the gallant crew of the USS Liberty was savagely attacked. Our American flag was proudly flying on our ship in the Mediterranean Sea that day. The designation AGTR-5 was clearly painted on the bow, port, and starboard sides. USS Liberty was written in English on her stern. When we arrived on June 7th, we were overflown by Israeli reconnaissance aircraft, and the same activity was repeated on the morning of June 8th. We were positively identified as American and friendly by the IDF. We had requested a destroyer escort long before we entered the Mediterranean, but we were denied twice. Our captain assured us that we were clearly marked as American and we therefore had nothing to fear. We were alone, 12.5 miles off the coast of the Sinai Peninsula, always in international waters. The Israeli reconnaissance aircraft were clearly marked with the Star of David. We therefore felt secure, seeing a flying boxcar and other smaller recon propeller aircraft taking good care of us. The attack began at 2 o'clock on a beautiful, bright, sunny day by French-made Mirage and Mr. A jets painted black with no markings. We had no clue who was attacking us, but assumed it was an Arab state. During the first pass-by, the jets took out all but one of our transmitting antennas, as well as every watertight door above the waterline. The air attack lasted about 25 minutes, killing and maiming our firefighters and any sailor who moved. Our radio man took one antenna offline, so it wasn't transmitting and wasn't hit. He ran a long wire to it, and the SOS went out to the 6th Fleet. It was even picked up as far away as Vietnam. Rockstar, under attack by an unknown jet aircraft. Help us, help us. Captain Tully, skipper of the USS Saratoga, sent jets to come to our aid. Before the jets hit the horizon, they were recalled by Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara. Captain Engen of the USS America and Tully relaunched more aircraft to aid us. They were also recalled, this time by Lyndon Baines Johnson himself. He said, quote, "I don't care about a few dead sailors. I will not embarrass my ally, Israel. Return to base immediately," end quote. How did he know who was attacking us if we did not? We were set up by our own government to let a foreign government have their way with us. The IDF even dropped napalm on the bridge of our ship. How low they would go, we would soon find out. 3 motor torpedo boats headed our way and 1 torpedo hit our starboard side. We saw the Star of David on the boats. They were there to sink us. The attack continued for another hour and a half. Attacking jet aircraft destroyed all but 3 of our life rafts, which we had put overboard. We were going to place our most seriously wounded in them so that they would have a chance at life, but the IDF would have none of that. They shot 2 of them out of the water and took 1 aboard their boats as a trophy of the kill. They continued shooting and killing my mates. They left and we thought that it was over, but it wasn't. IDF helicopters were sent with troops armed and ready to board our ship and finish us off. Then they just left. I guess the gig was up when the mighty IDF could not sink our defenseless ship. When it was all done, there were over 821 rocket and cannon holes and over 5,000 armor-piercing bullets riddling the ship. Napalm was burning us up, and a 40 by 40-foot torpedo hole was in her side, causing the ship to list badly to our starboard side. We then waited 17 hours for help. I guess they hoped that we would sink that night. Help was only 40 minutes away from us, but they left us out alone to die. When the USS America and the USS Davis arrived to help us, they took our wounded to care for them. Their wounds were so horrific, words cannot explain. Admiral Kidd boarded our ship a few days later, and the cover-up immediately began. We were ordered to never speak of the attack to anyone, not even with one another. Penalties would be fines, imprisonment, or worse, and we all knew that worse meant death. We had been treated like garbage for the last 57 years. Congress has been bought and paid for with the exception, over the years, of a few brave lawmakers. Their names are Representatives Pete McCloskey, Paul Findley, and Jim Trafficant. As the courageous Rep. Thomas Massey has noted, all Republican members of Congress except for him have AIPAC handlers. We can assume this is also true of nearly all Democrats. We are the most decorated ship in naval history for a single engagement. I believe God saved us that day to allow us to communicate the truth of this attack to leaders like you. We give all power to Jesus Christ. We are just his servants that horrible day and now. The USS Liberty survivors are the biggest whistleblowers this country has ever seen. We have been smeared as anti-Semitic, Jew haters, and Nazis. Our only sin is that we survived. We didn't kill anyone. Israel did all the murdering that day, and the U.S. government did all the covering up. I'm asking you to help us save America by telling other the facts about the slaughter of my mates. We are begging you to support us. Respectfully, Phil Tourney, the president of the USS Liberty Veterans Association.
Why are illegal immigrants?
Well, welcome to the show, Phil. I mean, just watching that, I mean, obviously you've seen that a few times. I mean, obviously you lived through it. What emotions does it bring up to think back to what happened in 1967 and to think we're now in 2025 and so many Americans and Australians and Westerners simply don't know the truth about what happened that day?
No, they don't, Jamie. But yeah, thank you again for having me on. But the emotions run very wide and very deep. I guess the biggest emotion for me and my fellow shipmates is the betrayal of our government colluding with another government, the Zionist State of Israel, to sink us and kill everybody aboard. And that was the plan. We were set up by our own government with LBJ and Levy Haskell to sink us and blame it on the Arabs. They hated Nasser, and they wanted to take over, and that's what went on. We didn't sink that day by the grace of God, but you know, from 1967 until this very moment, it's very evident we've been controlled by somebody other than the people in Congress, because they're controlled, they're bought and paid for, and that's just the way it is. And nobody should get by with cold-blooded murder, not even Israel. And that's why the USS Liberty veterans stand tall to the world. They deserve the truth, and everybody deserves the truth. They need to know the truth about what Israel did to us and why they did it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it appears that the one thing that the state of Israel is afraid of is the truth. I mean, if a nation is built on lie upon lie upon lie, then the truth is your greatest enemy. If a nation is built upon the truth, then it has nothing to fear and would not fear free speech. But a nation built on lies, of course, would want censorship. And now we see 2025, even under the Trump administration, which I think, Phil, a lot of people hope was a political revolution. It's going to be the exposure, drain the swamp, get rid of the deep state. But I think a lot of people in the know realize Israel is the deep state. I mean, I think, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but in America, a Christian nation, many Americans believe that the modern state of Israel is somehow biblical, but they haven't fact-checked that Israel was created in 1948, 77 years ago, and there's not too much biblical about 77 years ago, nor, if one's a Christian, fact-check that God would choose the Rothschilds banking family, the richest banking family on the planet, to create this, I would say, a fake state in 1948. But here we are in 2025, and something, I mean, this should be a movie, but it's a factual movie of what happened. I mean, to you and your fellow sailors that day is horrific. If this was done by Iran, America would be calling for the absolute obliteration of Iran. But Iran didn't do this. A supposed ally did this. So do you think when if and when enough Americans realize the truth, how will Americans really feel and what will Americans want done about Israel?
That runs deep, and that's a good question. What should be done? Well, you mentioned what if it was Iran that did it? It wasn't Iran, it was Israel. And they beat us up badly. I mean, they murdered 34 of my mates and wounded 174 others out of a crew of 294 souls. So Israel gets by with cold-blooded murder, and they called the USS Liberty veterans anti-Semites, Jew haters, and Nazis for telling the truth. For telling the truth, we get labeled. We didn't kill anybody. We didn't murder anybody. By the grace of God, we stayed alive, and we get labeled for telling the truth. But, you talk about lies. How many lies can you build up before the lies crumble on top of you? And that's what's going on right now. Everybody in the world sees what's going on. I mean, USS Liberty was a tipping point. We saved the world from a nuclear war. If we sank, a nuclear war comes, and that was very self-evident. Jamie, they had SAC aircraft on the way to bomb Cairo even before our ship was attacked by Israel. So if this isn't a set-up deal, there's nothing that I've ever heard of that is. And our Congress looks at us like we're idiots. They don't want to talk to us because they're all cover-up artists. I hate to say that, but that's where our country's gone, and it's got to stop. We are not a two-state solution here. We're one country under God, not under Israel, one country. And that's just the way it is. That's the way I feel. And the Gaza war has shown the world of what's going on and how brutal they can be to the very, very innocent in our world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And here's some images of, obviously Gaza you mentioned there. I mean, according to the United Nations, 90% of buildings have been flattened or destroyed. A lot of people don't even know that. I mean, they accuse Hamas of atrocities, but they seem to do things that then they accuse others of doing. I mean, the atrocities on USS Liberty, they don't want to highlight another lie that Israel created Hamas and funded Hamas up to 2012. Then begged Qatar to fund them ever since. They funded an office for Hamas to be opened in Qatar. And Benjamin Netanyahu, obviously Israeli Prime Minister in 2019, even called for the continued funding of Hamas to achieve Israel's political objectives. What are those objectives? The Greater Israel Project. As you said there, they don't want a two-state solution. The only peace Israel wants is a peace of the Middle East, and that's a pretty large peace. If they treat a friend like America, a so-called ally, in this way, where they have total disregard, I mean, to attack American Marines, I mean, that's a declaration of war. But of course, they do it in a way as a false flag. Knowing what they did to USS Liberty, do you believe the official narrative of September 11th, where the neocons, which are largely Israel-controlled US congressmen, tell us that it was the Arabs that did September 11th, yet the only nation that really has benefited from September 11th is the nation that won its 7 wars in 5 years? Do you think they might have something to do with other what we call false flag attacks, to blame Arab nations for attacks by themselves?
Well, let's go back to the King David Hotel, dressed up like Arabs to stir up trouble. We could start there and go on and on and on. Do I think that the Israelis or the Zionist government has a foothold in our government, and everything is skewed. If you didn't believe it wasn't skewed for one party, this is a prime example. I mean, you mentioned 9/11. I mean, I saw that in person, as many people did. And I'm no expert on demolition, but if that didn't look like a building falling down by explosives, whatever it was they used, and then building 7 gets flattened, and then you got dancing Israelis in the street, and then we get wars. Here we got Gaddafi; he's a bad guy. We got Iraq, Saddam Hussein; he's a bad guy. Then we go to Afghanistan. On and on and on. All these wars. And it doesn't benefit anybody but Israel. And we pay with blood and treasure. I mean, look at these American soldiers that are blown to bits. No legs, no arms. Can't speak because of this atrocious, terrible war we went on in Afghanistan. And it didn't do us any good, but it sure did a lot of good for Israel. And I believe that sincerely. I'm talking as Phil Tourney here, a survivor. I'm not talking for my Liberty veterans, but I'm sure they would agree with me, Jamie.
And Phil, Donald Trump, obviously, many people supported MAGA, Make America Great Again. They support many of Trump's policies. I feel, many people like a lot of things about what Trump stands for, but the one thing they're deeply concerned about in the MAGA movement even is this loyalty still to Israel. Have you ever had a chance to speak to Donald Trump? Or if you did, what would you say to Trump about what happened and what he needs to do?
Well, I have not had a chance to speak to President Trump. That would be a great thing. I would love to, in a phone call or by a letter, by text, or anything, just to let him know that, we're here. We're American servicemen. Join the military to serve our country from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I'd ask him this, Mr. President, we have a foreign country, Israel, that attacks us. We have an American government, our government, getting in our way of the truth. And what is so bad about the truth? If this is so cut and dry, it was a mistaken identity, prove it. You can't prove it with the USS Liberty survivors. And you can't prove it with many, many scholars around the world. I mean, we have a foothold here for America, for the world, Australia, everybody. Listen to the USS Liberty veterans. It can save you a lot of grief because we're not lying. The truth is what it is. You're either American first. You can't serve two masters, like I said before. So that's what I tell President Trump, or ask him, hey, come on, man, stick up for you said transparency, stick up for us. Stick up for the men that gave their lives and blood for this country, and don't treat us like we're second-class citizens because Israel did the murdering.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And, many people believe Trump is a good man. I think he wants to see good done. But, is this foreign power so powerful that they have control? I mean, if you look at the Trump administration, Candace Owens, who obviously interviewed you, is a very talented person that should certainly be part of that administration. But she's not, because she's exposed Israel for its wrongdoings. Everyone that's part, I was at Washington for CPAC and Trump was there, and Elon Musk, etc. And I was deeply disappointed with the CPAC conference in Washington in February, because it's basically a Zionist conference, and that no one is part of Trump administration unless they're basically outwardly loyal to Israel. And I saw them there massaging the wording even that keep saying America first, America first. This is Israel getting the Trump administration to keep using the words America first to appease and fool the MAGA. And I was there when some of the J6s were booted out of that conference. And when Trump spoke, it was close to a mini outbreak of a revolution there where the MAGA movement was going to split. If he didn't acknowledge the J6s in his speech, well, then they would have overtook that conference and Trump would have been booed off stage. So my I guess concern for America, which also concerns us in Australia and the West, is that Trump is going to have to make a choice, make America great, which means make America first and Israel last. If Israel is made first, I don't think America has a future. Phil, what's your view on that? If Israel continues to be made first by American politicians, is there any long-term future for the state of America?
Oh boy, that's a very, very. I don't think. I hope Donald Trump doesn't like getting his nose rubbed in the sand by Benjamin Netanyahu. And I don't know the inner workings, but I got a good idea. Of course, CPAC was all about America first, but was it really America first? As you said, I mean, like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, I think they were there and they were spouting all this great stuff, they thought. But we better become first, or I think we're all doomed. I mean, in some form or fashion, if it's financially, if it's in destroying your credibility, trying to bankrupt you in court for telling the truth. Is that next? I mean, look at Harvard. They don't, Trump's going after them for protesters supporting Gaza, the massacre, the genocide in Gaza. And I think that's wrong. This is a country of free speech. All speech, whether you like it or not, is welcome. I mean, we can have a strong question and debate about that, but America comes first, just like Australia comes first. How about the people in Australia? What do they think of Israel?
Well, I think, Phil, what's happening even in Australia and it's happening in the West is that more and more people I used to be pro-Israel. I mean, half my friends are Jewish. So I'm certainly not anti-Jewish. I've been invited on delegations when I was looking at going into politics 10 years ago. I was invited to Tel Aviv. I went to Tel Aviv. I was asked to become a friend of Israel. So I used to be pro-Israel, but I also used to be pro-vaccine. I was also, I just assumed what we were told was true. But being a part of independent media and as a journalist investigating things, then I realized that, hang on, this is not right. I'm a Christian, but if I'm a Christian, how could I stand with the slaughter of innocent Gazans and men, women, and children that has been mass murdered based on complete and utter lies of October 7th. So many Australians are probably like me, that especially if they follow independent media or listen to the likes of Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens and others. Dan Bilzerian's been very outspoken, starting to go, becoming very uncomfortable with standing with Israel. I think the reality is, I would say we know the left detests Israel. I would say 50% or more of the right of politics, both in America and Australia, also oppose Israel and want America first, not Israel first. So you're probably left with maybe 25% of the population that actually really want to stand with Israel. And most of those, half of those, are not evil people. They're just, I think, brainwashed Christians predominantly, because they went to Bible school and they read about Israel and they think the 1948 created state by the Rothschilds, fraudulently called Israel, is biblical Israel, and that God somehow chose these people. But that's not true, because the people that live in Israel today are not Israelites. They're not Semites. So even that whole argument, anti-Semite, is ridiculous. So I would say, like Americans, Phil, many Australians and many of the Jewish population in Australia have spoken out with full-page ads saying we do not support Trump's Gaza plan. We do not support what Israel's doing to Gazans. I think that is good because the Jewish people really have to stand up. Too many of my Jewish friends, they might be very well off in business, so they don't say anything because it's political suicide. But I think the silence is tacit support. They have to speak up for their own benefit. In Australia, Phil, we had the fake caravan plot where these are obviously, clearly we called it out, the bombing of Melbourne synagogue, Jewish synagogue, and we called it out early, say, let's not fall for this. It's most likely paid for Israeli agitators, as been evidence in the Toronto synagogue and other synagogues around the world. So I think many people are aware that Israel is up to mischief when it comes to trying to manipulate the public. I've said in the Australian election coming up, Phil, next week, that Australians have no choice. They're voting for Israel or Israel. Both major political parties in Australia are controlled by Israel. Just like in America, the Democrats, as much as they hate Israel, are controlled by them. And the Republicans, unfortunately, even under Trump, is a Zionist administration. So I think the public doesn't support Israel, but they are given very little choice. Are you still there, Phil?
I am. You kind of got frozen time, Jamie. I didn't quite get all of it, but the spearhead to this whole deal with Israel lies with the USS Liberty, because we're alive and we can tell the truth, and people can see on live television what's going on in Gaza. It's exactly what they did to us. They didn't care who they were killing or why. You mentioned about the Jews. The USS Liberty Veterans Association do not hate Jews. Mm-hmm. We don't like what the governments do. And I'm sure the people of Israel don't like what their government's doing. And America should understand that, especially the USS Liberty veterans, we're not out there to destroy anybody. We're just out there for the truth, and let the chips fall for where they may. There's no statute of limitations on war crimes. What they did to us, shooting our life rafts, dropping napalm on us. I mean, come on, it was 2-hour bloodbath, and there's no. So here we go into this debacle we're in the Middle East. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but I do want to say this, Jamie. If you're listening, just go to libertyveterans.org, veterans.org. And we're a small group. If you want to donate $1 or a couple bucks to us, or whatever you can do, it'd be great. You can go on our website, buy shirts or hats to support us, because we've been here for 58 years fighting for the truth, and we're going to go down. They got busted. They got caught setting up their own men to be slaughtered by the Zionist state and bring us into World War III. And I don't know of a worse crime than that, but Jesus Christ did not allow that. So that's why I'm here right now. I'm just his servant. You know, I was his servant that day. I'm still his servant. The truth must be told, Jamie, and I hope to God we can continue to do it.
I couldn't agree more, Phil. So that's for our for viewers, libertyveterans.org. I encourage you to make a donation. Australian National Review will as well, because I think, you know, we must support the truth being told. And I agree with you, Phil, that it's brave men and women, you know, out there, including yourself, that, you know, courageously speak the truth, knowing you're speaking up against a very powerful enemy that wants you crushed for sharing this truth. Truth shall set us free. I think it's our only hope. You know, Joe Rogan said without independent media, we'd all be effed, especially through COVID. And it's good to see Joe Rogan, you know, Dan Bilzerian, obviously Candace has done a great job. Tucker, willing to be what they're meant to be, independent journalists that can not be censored and not told what to say. And here at Australian National Review, we didn't choose to become a friend of Israel. We're not against Jewish people, but we're certainly against lies and this covert takeover of America and Australia. And I agree with the USS Liberty. As tragic as that was, it could be the one great incident that helps wake enough people up to free us from this evil. Thanks for your time today, Phil. So libertyveterans.org, please, viewers, make a donation to keep this truth out there. Take care, Phil.
Thank you, Jamie. And God bless you. God bless the citizens all around the world, and especially in Australia. Thank you for giving me the time. I certainly appreciate it. God bless all of us.
You're welcome. Take care. So there we have Phil Tourney, a survivor. He was only 20 years of age back in 1967. I mean, it seems so hard to believe that actually happened. That's what's so critical, to have people still alive that can share the story so it can't be dismissed, like Israel would like it dismissed, or say it was an accident or whatever. There's no accident. It's premeditated, sending plane after plane after plane with a clear intention. The clear intention by Israel that day was to slaughter every single one on the USS Liberty and sink it, so there were no survivors to tell the truth. What they hate is that there is survivors like Phil that are still alive today and speaking the truth. And it's up to you and I to demand the truth be heard, to know what the truth is, and to share that truth. So please support Phil Tourney and the Liberty Veterans organization, libertyveterans.org. We'll go to a quick ad break and we'll be back with some more just after this short break.
G'day folks, I'm here with Jamie McIntyre, owner and founder of Lux Projects. Jamie, what's the latest going on over in Lombok?
Yeah, mate, it's very exciting. I love going there. I was just there recently, met with the government ministers, etc. They're even more excited than I am if that's possible. They just want to see development happen. South Lombok, if you look in Bali, it's the south part of Bali that has boomed. North part of Bali hasn't been developed. It's going to be the same in Lombok. It's 106 kilometers from where I live in Bali. Fast boat ferries they've approved, so we'll be able to put a fast boat into this beautiful beach you can see here. I think it's the nicest beach in Indonesia. I could be biased, but it's definitely the nicest beach I've been to. We bought up most of the area. It hasn't been developed yet. We're going to be very careful about the way we develop, make it sustainable, but really building, Dave, an expat community. So I'm going to live here as a second home. I'm inviting others, I guess, who want to have a second home in this beautiful part of the world. These are some of the villas that we already build in our Bali projects. We start building within 6 weeks, Dave, in Lombok. So we'll be building some of these homes, plenty of villas, but we're also building a gated community in suburbs for people that do want to live there more than just a week's holiday. So we're going to have a combination of both, and we're building a small town, Marina Bay it's called. It's going to have all the facilities. It's going to be, I think, the first planned town or small city in Indonesia. And so Bali Free Report or Lombok Free Report, you can go there and get all the information. So Lombok Free Report, check it out. We'll be doing a Zoom coming up very shortly, Dave, and covering more about leasehold, freehold. Lombok is freehold and leasehold. You can do both. So you have all these options. Very affordable compared to Australia, Australia.
The McIntyre Report.
Welcome back, folks. Jamie McIntyre here reporting for Australian National Review, McIntyre Report, and news.com. Follow our 24-hour news headlines. Well, that was pretty amazing to chat with Phil Tourney there, survivor of USS Liberty. Yes, Israel did target and bomb and kill 34 US Marines that day, injured 174, and tried to murder all of them to start a war with Egypt. False flag attack. Murderous regime. Did they ever apologize for it? No. If Iran did that, we'd have World War III. If any other nation did that, we'd have World War III. Why do some still stand and make excuses for this pathetic, fake 1948 created state created by a bunch of banker wanker families? That's the Rothschilds to start at World War I, World War II. And if they get their way, they now want Trump to start World War III by invading, attacking Iran. If they attack Iran, of course, Russia's going to defend Iran. I think China will as well. North Korea, probably the BRIC nations, and there you'll have World War III. That's, of course, why Netanyahu and his overlords want it. That's why they started the war in Ukraine, to make it Israel too and provoke war with Russia. That's why they're pushing Trump to go over the top with trade tariffs and start and provoke a war. Without trade, there is war with China and interfering in Taiwan. It's always blaming China or Russia or Iran that they're wanting to start a war. None of them. Have you ever seen China start a war? Oh, Russia started a war. Did they? Did they start the Ukraine war that started 11 years ago? Oh, they invaded 3 years ago. How do you start a war that started 11 years ago, 3 years ago? You can't. The Rothschilds and their satanic Israel Zionists started the war in Ukraine. They want a war with Iran. They want a war with China. They want World War III because that's how they profit and reset the system. Do you think they care about slaughtering you? They kill babies. They shoot kids in the head, not once, but twice. They crush them under IDF bulldozers. This is some of the most satanic, evil people on the planet. I'm not having a go at the Jewish people because many Zionists aren't even Jewish. But if you continue to stand with such evil and make excuses for them and believe their lies, everything they say is a lie. There's not a single person on this planet we've offered $1 million for anyone to come up and put up an argument. Why should America, Australia, any nation stand with the fake state of Israel in 1948? I even challenged Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk. I mean, Charlie Kirk is a good Christian, good person, but he's deeply misled to stand with Israel because he thinks it's biblical Israel and somehow God chose these 6 satanic banker wankers. He's deeply misled. And as a result of that, all his good work goes down there. Ben Shapiro can speak smart, but he's an Israeli shill. Daily Wire is funded by Israel. Jordan Peterson, another Israel shill. You can do all the good work in the world, but if you stand with the devil, you sell your soul for Israel, then all your good work is undone. You're not going to heaven. God, if you want to poke God in the eye, stand with Israel. Be a Christian and stand with Israel. That's how you poke God in the eye, and see what the implications of that going to be. God help you. All I do is pray and hope people wake up and stop standing with Israel. We don't have to go to war against Israel. All we have to do is awaken. Awareness is the first step to change. Enough people wake up and demand America. It's up to Americans predominantly. America first, not Israel first. Cut off the aid to America, to Israel. If Israel wants to go and start wars around the world, as they do, let Israel fund their own wars. Let Israel have to negotiate with all the enemies around it. They complain they're surrounded by enemies. Well, who stole land in 1948 and created a fake state there? Don't bitch and moan you're surrounded by enemies when you stole their land and been genociding your enemies ever since. They have every right to be a little bit peeved and want to wipe you off the map. Now, we're not advocating violence. We're advocating sanction Israel to death, cut off their military aid. If they want to start wars, they can fund them themselves. And let's see how big and tough they are now. They're a bully in the schoolyard when they're surrounded by enemies that they've pissed off. And good luck, Israel, dealing with your enemies, because I think the world would turn a blind eye as what would happen to you for all your vengeance. I would say to the Israeli people, leave. That's right, they already are. Jews are fleeing Israel. Israel is a failed state, it's a failed experiment, and we're sick of having to talk about it. Before we wrap up, let's hear from Trump. What's happening with Trump and trade?
Zelensky this weekend. Will you be meeting with him this
weekend? I don't know that he's going to the funeral or not, but I just hope he gets this thing solved, because we're losing about, think of this, 5,000. I was saying 2,500, and everyone was telling me that's low. 5,000 soldiers are being killed every week, approximately. Think of that. Every week, 5,000 soldiers, but let's say from 3,000 to 5,000 are being killed. They're Russian and Ukrainian. They're not Americans, but they're Russian, but they're people. And they're humans, they're human beings, they have families. They wave goodbye to their son, and then they get a call that the son's no longer there. It's a vicious war, and if I can help solve it, we're not losing our soldiers, but we're losing soldiers, a lot of people. And if I can solve it because of a certain ability, that would be great. And if it doesn't happen, I will say that I think Russia is ready, and a lot of people said Russia wanted to go for the whole thing. And I think we have a deal with Russia. We have to get a deal with Zelensky, and I hope that Zelensky, I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far it's been harder, but that's okay. It's all right.
Have you had
but I think we have a deal with both. I hope they do it, because I'm looking to save, and we spend a lot of money, but this is about a lot of humanity. This is the worst. I get the pictures, the satellite pictures. I've never seen anything like it, of the fields after some of these battles. It's horrible that it's going for nothing. We would have never had this problem. You would have never had that war if I were president. I guarantee you that. And for 4 years you didn't have it.
If I may, this deal that you have with Russia, does it include recognizing Russia's sovereignty over Crimea?
Well, everything is good. Look, I just want to see the war end. I don't care. If they're both happy, they both sign an agreement. I have no favorites. I don't want to have any favorites. I want to have a deal done. I want to save the lives. Now, with that being said, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars through Biden. Biden should have never let that war happen. We're spending hundreds of billions, maybe $350 billion we've given to Ukraine. And we could use that money right here. So I'd like to see that. But most importantly right now is when I see the pictures, the satellite pictures of the battlefield, if I can stop that because of an ability I have to do things, I want to see if I can do that.
So there you have it, Donald Trump in the White House wanting to stop the war. Last night, Zelensky killed the peace deal. Russia, as he said there, is happy to do peace. Russia never wanted this war. Russia wanted peace. The idea that Russia wants to take over all of Ukraine is just simple nonsense, Western propaganda. The West started this war. Victoria Nolan, U.S. State Department under the Biden administration, and George Soros. And Russia never wanted the war. They were provoked, and they have every right to defend their borders and every right to defend Eastern Ukrainians who are ethnically Russian. It's a former part of Russia. What are we doing there? Why is Australia sending weapons or military aid, bushmasters to Ukraine? Why would we pick a fight with Russia? Russia is a Christian nation, traditional values, a country we should be aligned with, not opposing. But, of course, if we listen to fake news media that's owned by fake Jews, that's the fake printers of money and Rothschilds, and you'll believe in fake narratives such as Russia started the war 3 years ago, despite the war starting 11 years ago. That's all we have for this episode, folks. We'll be back next week with more on the McIntyre Report. Check out the upcoming summit coming up in July, held in Gold Coast, the first annual Independent Media Summit, 2-day event with over 15 speakers from around the world, and also the Independent Media Awards. Candace Owens has been nominated, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, Whitney Webb, Steve Kirsch, a whole host of people. Send in your nominations too if you believe in citizen journalists or independent journalists that you like to see recognized for their hard work. That's coming up in July.